Got this Cadillac in the garage, just got dropped off. And let me show you what's going on with this thing, okay? So it's got a few different complaints. Number one, check engine light is on. It has a misfire, and I'll show you guys that just in a second. Second complaint is apparently the trunk doesn't open from the button right here. I don't hear any actuation going on back there, nor does it work with the key fob. So key fob's right here. You can see the lights turned on. If I hold the button, absolutely nothing. She said the only way she could open her trunk is if she climbs in, puts the rear seats down, and climbs inside the trunk and pulls that, you know, that rope or that lever. Okay, and let me show you the third and final problem. Let's go ahead and set up the engine. And of course, there goes our check engine light down there because of that misfire I was telling you about. And yeah, I can kind of hear it and feel a slight shaking. I could kind of feel that misfire. Anyway, let me show you what happens. Third complaint. Turn the engine off. See this glass is down? This glass was not down when I turned the engine on. So apparently every time you turn off the engine, the rear glass goes down. Let me go ahead and raise it back up. And what I'm finding interesting is, I don't know if this is normal, but there's power to that door, even though the key is not in the run position. So I'm gonna take the key out. Let's see if I can still, you know what, let me cycle the door, close it, open the door. Let's see if we could still lower this window. And I sure can. Anyway, you can see the glass is up, right? Start the engine. Oh, and the glass just went down. Okay, so it's not only when you start or when you turn the engine off, but also when you start the engine. So let's raise the glass up, because apparently she has to do this every single day, every single time she turns off the engine or starts the car. So this is what she would do. Raise the glass every time she gets in the car in the morning, and the second she turns the car off, that happens. All right. Isn't that crazy, guys? I've never seen something like this. I don't know, maybe someone who's more familiar with Cadillacs, or like some people like to call them Cadillac converters, are more familiar with these type of problems. I just remembered that there's another customer complaint. She's saying the headlights are acting funny. She took it to that same shop that's been doing all the work. The headlights were actually filled with water, so they changed, put brand new headlights in, right? Everything was working fine for like 3 or 4 days, and then the bulbs went out. And as you can see, I got the low beams on right now. So that low beam is on, this one is off. And she said, I think she said, there was more water in the new lens. So she took it back to the shop. They replaced the bulbs again. And I think she said they even replaced the headlight assemblies again, a second time. Anyway, a week goes by, and she's right back at square one where the lights don't work. You know, what are the chances the light bulbs keep going out? And she said something about the turn signals aren't acting right. So let's turn on the hazards. Hazards on. You can see it's blinking on the front left side right here. And yeah, nothing blinking on the front right side. Are we dealing with just bad bulbs? I don't know. I don't think so, because the shop wouldn't miss something like that. You know what I mean? And like she said, when she picks it up from the shop, it's working fine. And then after a few days, it goes bad again. The car starts acting weird. So I'm trying to figure out how to get into the trunk from here. So I lowered this, just kind of reached my hand. I see a cable up there, and I felt something right here. So it feels like there should be a handle, but it's broken off. So all we have is a little, just the end of the cable right there. I'm just gonna go ahead and pull on it, and there goes the trunk. So that's how she opens it, which really sucks. There's so many weird oddball things with this car that are super inconvenient. Okay, so where's the actual actuator on this thing? This just looks like a spring down there. I think the actuator is built in up here. I might have to take this apart real fast because guys, I know it sounds crazy, but I've seen functions on cars that don't work, and it turns out it's because they're not plugged in. You're wondering, well, how is it not plugged in? Let's just say if the car was in an accident, let's just say the trunk was smashed in or the door was smashed in. Maybe whoever repaired the car, if it were in an accident, they forgot to plug in that latch back there. Or for some reason, some work had to get done on the driver's side door. Maybe they forgot to plug in the connector for the switch right there. Who knows? You get what I'm saying? So there are scenarios where stuff like this can happen because I've experienced it. So I got the panel off, only took a minute, and the connector was plugged in, guys. I unplugged it myself just to check, make sure we don't have any green crusties. And we don't. Everything looks pretty good. I don't see bent pins or anything. Now I don't have a wiring diagram for this thing, but let's see if we can figure out which wires are to unlatch this motor, and we'll see if we have what we need at the end of this connector to actuate this motor. Alright guys, so as you can see, I got my power probe right here connected, and I'm finding that the orange and black wire has power pretty much at all times. Let me turn on the power probe so you guys can hear it. See, orange and black wire has power, but nothing else. I don't see a ground here. I would assume that the black one is ground, which, you know, I know I shouldn't assume, but basically there's no ground here. It might be ground side switched, but so we're gonna go through each one, okay? As you can see, I'm using a very small pin, so guys, I'm not spreading the little connectors, the terminals right there. Let's see if, oh, you hear that? Every time I push the button. So it is ground side switched, and it's switching on this tan wire, the very first one. Guys, we just have a bad actuator. I wish I had a wiring diagram. I think I should get one, guys. The thing is, I don't have All Data or Mitchell or anything like that. I have to pay for each and every car, but you know, I don't know why I'm complaining. You know, it's part of a diagnosis to have, you know, wiring diagram and schematics, all that kind of stuff. So I may just go ahead and pay. It's only like 20-25 bucks or something. And even if you hold the button, the power probe only beeps for like a second or two. And that's normal of a trunk latch, because it doesn't matter if you hold the button down. Of course, it's not going to keep trying to actuate it. All it has to do is actuate it once to release it. So I'm going to get a wiring diagram only because we have more than one problem going on with this car, okay? But already, I think we're on the path here of this thing being bad. One more final test is I found with my scanner, there is a bi-directional control to open up the trunk. So as you can see, I'm still tapped into like that orange, I don't know why I said orange, that brown wire right at the very end. And when I unlatch the trunk, see the power probe turns on, it gets power on that brown wire. Turn it off, turn it back on, and off. And there has to be some sort of fuse panel or something inside of here, because I could hear a relay clicking every time I turn that on. So guys, I think we are getting what we need out of the car. I think this actuator is no good. Ooh, guys, I almost got burned here. Let me explain. So every time we hit the button over there, we hit the key fob, the power probe would turn on, right? On that brown wire like I was showing you guys. And I was just thinking, okay, it's a beeping sound that's supplying the ground, right? Wrong. If you looked at the power probe, it was supplying a power. So if the brown is being supplied a power every time the button is activated, and the orange has constant power, I thought to myself, where's the ground coming from? So I looked at the wire. By the way, guys, the wiring diagram for this thing is driving me crazy because I can't find anything that matches the schematics for this car. You see, we got 4 wires here, 4 different colors. And in the wiring diagram, I can't find anything. Now, I don't know if I downloaded the wrong thing off of All Data. So the sticker on the car says like October of like 2010, right? But my scanner says this thing is 2011. Even the sticker underneath the hood says 2011. So when I bought the stuff off of All Data, I chose a 2011. Now, I don't know if that's the difference. I don't know if I screwed myself over right there and I just wasted 20 bucks. But I can't find anything that matches. The point is, the one thing that is constant is that the black is a ground. And we already saw that if we go to that ground with a power probe, you can see I'm making a connection right there on the black wire. If we had a ground, the power probe should be going off, but it's not. Okay, so a test that we can do is, let's go ahead and actuate this latch. I'm gonna engage it as if the trunk was closed, right? Grab the ground side of our power probe. You can see I got my wire connected to the ground side wire of the power probe. Let's go ahead and back probe the black wire. We're basically gonna supply our own ground to this thing. So I'm not piercing any wires or anything. You can see I got my pin where the black wire is. Let's go ahead and plug this in. Looks good to me. Okay, so at this point, we are supplying a ground to that black wire. Let's go ahead and hit the trunk release button, see what happens. Did you hear that? It actually unlatched. Guys, this thing is not bad. This thing is missing a ground. That's what's going on here. Look at that. I almost burned myself with this. Okay. So we know we're missing a ground. Why is it missing ground? A very common problem on trunks is right here. Every time the trunk opens and closes, it's constantly flexing these wires right here. All right, so I got my pin back probed again into the black wire. Got it at the tip of the power probe. So basically when it picks up a ground, it's gonna beep and the green light will turn on. I wanna go ahead and flex this right here. Like I said, it would typically be right here in this part that bends a lot. If you were to like randomly gain our ground back, the power probe would start beeping, but so far nothing. I guess we're gonna have to follow this ground back, see where it goes. In the wiring diagram, it did say something about the right rear shock tower or strut tower. That's where the ground is at. So we may have to remove some of these panels back here to see if we could find this ground. All right, so the ground for that trunk latch is actually G401. Looking at the diagram, it says that it's actually behind here. It should be in this corner, right behind the seat. The problem is, I don't know how to get these seats to come forward, if they even do, without taking out a bunch of stuff. So I got the seat out of the way. The cushion, you just pull it up from the bottom. Then there's 4 10 mils that you get at from the inside of the trunk. And then there's 4 15 mils that you get at from down here. And here goes our ground. And of course, it looks like it's in perfect condition because it's inside the car is what I would expect. All right, you can see this thing has a ton of grounds going to 1, which is fine, but we need to figure out how is it that the ground from here isn't making it to that trunk. And again, guys, the most likely thing is that the break is somewhere right here. The break is just probably so severe that simply moving it like this isn't enough to make that connection. All right, so I took off these panels and here goes the harness of wires. You can see it comes down and here I am shaking, and still my power probe is not making a sound indicating that we have a ground. So that tells me this is not like a type of break. The wire itself is still physically connected, but the strands underneath the sheathing are broken. No, this is a clean break, like 100% separated. So show you guys what I did. You can see we got 3 grounds going into this whole like assembly right here, right into this plastic sheathing. 3 grounds. So I came on the back side of it, which is right here, and I figure let's just go ahead and give it the old classic Keith tug test. And I figure I got a 1 in 3 chance of pulling on the correct ground, right? And what do you know, the very first ground that I pull on, I'm pulling on it very lightly and I noticed there's no resistance. And when I looked up here at these grounds, none of these black wires are moving, but here I am pulling this one out. There's your problem, lady. Yep, just as I suspected right from the very beginning. So yeah, me taking apart the seat was a big old waste of time. Just for proof of concept. If this end came out, then surely one of these must come out, right? Whichever one is the one we're chasing. Oh, it's this one right here. Let's go ahead and temporarily connect these two wires and test our latch. I got it connected, and of course now you could hear the power probe is buzzing its head off because we have restored the ground. And I've already latched the latch, if that's what you call it. I don't know what you call it, but we hit the button and it should unlock. Uh-oh, what am I missing? Oh, well, maybe if you plug it in, you big dummy. All right. I know you guys are getting a kick out of that one. All right, now I promise it should work. Oh, yeah. Very nice. How much? Sweet. Let me go ahead, make this repair. I'll put it back in its original sheathing. Sheathing. Why has it got to be a she? Why can't it be he? In its protective cover. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah, and I know some of you are going to be saying, oh, well, look at all that time you spent. But of course it was a bad ground. I could have found that in 1 minute. All right, man. You know, sometimes this is how diagnosing a vehicle goes. At least I didn't shoot the parts cannon at it and be like, oh, yeah, it just needs the latch, you know. Don't get me wrong. I almost got burned for being dumb. But at the end of the day, it got fixed and diagnosed properly. No parts required. The customer is going to be very happy with that, okay? And I'm very happy with that. It means I won't lose any sleep over this. Just a short update. The seat is all put back together. But before I put on this rear cover, I just want to show you guys. Try to put everything back exactly how it was from factory if you can. So I remember I cut off a zip tie right there. So remember to replace the zip tie. There was some Tesla tape wrapped around this. And when you take it off, that stuff is pretty much useless. So I put brand new Tesla tape. It's like a tape, but it's made out of has like a fabric type of feel to it. Here was the ground that I repaired. Of course, I added just like this much length because since the wire was now essentially shorter, I didn't want it to get stressed inside of here. So I just added a little bit of extra, and there's plenty of it inside of here. So that's going to be fine. As you can see, everything is all done here. Another benefit I noticed is that the trunk light actually turns on the interior light. Anyway, let's go ahead and latch the trunk. We'll try to open it from the key fob first. Looks good. Let that latch again. Now let's try over here at the button. Sounds good to me. All right, guys. So this video has gotten pretty long for what it is, but sometimes that's just how they go, right? The point is, at the end of the day, it got fixed. So of course there's going to be more videos on this car, but for now I think I'm done with this. I hope you enjoyed the video, and like always, thanks for watching.